Hi guys, what up? Lucio here, and I feel like a featherless bird without beard. Anyway, awesome analysis in this video. We will investigate the different dating strategies of men as they go for lovers, providers, and friends. I will provide you videos example and I will tell you the pros and the cons for each. Let's start with an overview. In the dating advice industry, the typical differentiation is between lovers, providers, and friends. The theory goes that lovers are sexy. They give women nothing except of sex. Lucky girls. The providers instead offer help and support. They sometimes become the boyfriends. However, girls are not really excited by providers. They want lovers. And sometimes they will cheat on providers with the lovers. The friends, sometimes referred to as emotional tampons or wine nights, are the worst category of them all, because they offer help and support, but get nothing back. Is this theory true? In big part, no, but there is some truth. Let's investigate. There is some truth in the sense that most guys tend to go for the provider role, which is the default setting of most men. And since most guys are not sexy, the average guy in the provider role tends to be rather bland. Fewer guys instead go for the lover role. They tend to be more driven and more knowledgeable in social dynamics, psychology, dating, and women. Thus, the average lover tends to be more exciting than the average provider. What about the friend instead? When people refer to the friend in dating, they are referring to guys who want to have sex with women, but instead of making their move, they spend time with them without ever doing anything. This oftentimes turns out to be a self-defeating strategy indeed. Now, where does this theory go wrong? It goes wrong because if you've noticed, it's all about on average, and it's all about stereotypes. This is all a big generalization. And of course, there is a lot of posturing and social climbing because some guys like fancying themselves as lovers. Whether they really are, that's a different question. There is a previous video on posturing, check that one out. Now, let's go back to our analysis. In truth, there are different levels of quality within each category, and that's what makes the whole difference. Let's see. Lovers come in all shapes, sizes and forms, and there are plenty of low-quality wannabe lovers who do not make women excited in the slightest. There is a movie called The Pickup Artist, which is a good example of a low-quality lover.
92751 Karen. Hi! My name's Jericho, and I couldn't help noticing this great outfit and the way you walk, which is very exciting. And your terrific haircut, which I love, and of course this great-looking dog. Hi! He's not dangerous, is he?
Depends.
My name's Jack Jericho.
You said that already.
That's right, I did. What's your dog's name?
Caligula.
Great name. And yours?
Doesn't really matter, does it?
Low-quality lovers are actually some of the lowest value men you can have. It's because they offer limited emotional support, no material support, and no official relationship status. But since they don't even have lovers' qualities like charm and sexual allure, what do they have then? Exactly nothing. Of course, there are also high-quality lovers, and that's certainly a good life to be in. High-quality lovers are high-quality men who offer sex, romance, and adventure. But contrary to low-quality lovers, women actually want sex, romance, and adventure from these guys. Here is one example.
He is funny. He looks like a carrot, honey.
Who looks like a carrot? Hi. Who looks like a carrot?
Conan O'Brien.
It's certainly possible, and actually likely if the relationship goes on, the women will try to turn lovers into providers. Check the video on female relationship control. Whether that works or not depends partly on how good the woman is, and mostly on the lover himself. Let's check now the providers. The lowest levels of providers are guys who go in debt to show off for a woman. They max out their credit cards before even getting a whiff of her. Slightly above are guys who are in the lower income brackets and still make their only selling point their stability and their emotional and material providing. From the same movie as above, Ryan Gosling tells his friend to position himself as a provider. Let's watch.
You play your strengths, pal. That's all any of us can do. I'm mysterious. I'm, good in bed. And you are a, stable and employed adult. He's just looking for an opportunity to settle for a responsible and stable adult. And I'd like her to settle for you.
Gosling is basically telling him that he's a low average provider and that's how he should present himself. However, there are providers that women lust for. High-quality providers are cool or super cool guys who commit to women. They get into relationships and may eventually even be happy to share their life and their material wealth with women. Think of George Clooney. Why was Clooney hailed as the most eligible bachelor in the US while more lover types like Jack Nicholson never were? It's because Clooney was an attractive guy who also showed the ability to commit in shorter but seemingly committed relationships. He was the most eligible bachelor because the woman able to lock him for good was going to get the full package. Clooney is an example of a high-quality man who has it all. The lover sex appeal plus the provider. And that's why, ultimately, a high-quality provider is better than a lover. Here is another example of high-quality provider, here interestingly pitched against a more typical lover.
Sent you the flowers.
None of your business. Thanks for the flowers.
Tony said you did great.
I never got flowers before.
Really? Well, I'm sure you'll get lots of them. Well, he gave them to you?
Yeah, he did.
There are even higher level of providers which intersect with lovers. In the old days, they used to be kings and emperors. These days, they are billionaire tycoons. Berlusconi, for example, has been for decades a tycoon level of provider and a lover. Berlusconi had an army of starlets, dancers, soubrettes, entertainers, wannabe actresses, and generally young and attractive women to accompany him at his infamous Bunga Bunga parties. Lucky bastard. High-quality providers could actually be prolific lovers if they wanted to, but on top of lovers' qualities, they also have lots of resources. That's why high-quality providers in the end usually beat high-quality lovers. Alright, what about the friends? Low-quality friends are guys who spend a lot of time with a specific woman hoping they will get a shot at being their boyfriend. Never say never, but usually it rarely works their way. And this is probably one of the worst positions to be in. The character of Neil Patrick Harris in Gone Girl is an example of a low-quality friend who waited for a lifetime just to have a shot.
The bed is Savoie. You'll never get a better sleep.
Oh, this is just what I need. I'm so exhausted.
Oh, I'll leave you to it then. And I am looking forward to my reunion with Amy Elliott.
And now the big question, who are high-quality friends? High-quality friends are cool guys and high-quality men who simply happen to be friends or acquaintances with women. Yes, they might want to have sex with said women, but there are countless reasons why they might not want to make a move. Maybe he's in a relationship, or maybe she's in a relationship with a friend of his. Or as it happened to a friend of mine, maybe she's paying him rent and he does not want to risk the money flow in the tenant-renter relationship. However, in these cases, there is always a spark of sexual tension and they both know it. When sex happens, it's awesome, hot and steamy, because it's the release of pent-up sexual tension.
Why didn't you write me? Why? Now it's too late.
I wrote you 365 letters. It wasn't over. It still isn't over.
What have we learned so far? Understand this. Any category is a generalization and it's a reduction of complexity. But reality is complex. And whenever we try to put it into cozy boxes to make it simpler, sometimes we are not explaining reality, but we are distorting it. This is the case with the lover, provider, and friend. The typical generalization of cool lover, boring provider, and loser friend is too simplistic. This kind of generalization often does not help men become better daters, but it harms them. There is a reason why a common advice in dating is to not buy women a drink. And this is because guys are trying to tell other guys to stay away from providing and be more lovers. However, guys who don't have or don't have yet any lover qualities, they often end up being worse off by taking away their provider value. And if you are a cool guy with deep pockets, like you, buying stuff like you could not care less about the costs is actually a very dominant thing to do, and it can be supremely attractive.
Do you like Crystal?
I like a lot of different champagnes. But I always stick with champagne.
What's Andrew Carver like?
That's why generic advice often ends up being bad advice. Guys, have you noticed one thing from the categories that we have just seen? It's not about role. It's all about quality. Low quality men do badly in any category, and high quality men do great in all categories. If you want to improve your dating, your goal should not be to fit in a certain box, but it's to make yourself a high value guy. At that point, whichever path you choose, you will do good at dating. If you like this content, subscribe, check out the course, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, guys. Much love.